We turn then to bills for second reading, and first is the Human Tissue and Organ Donation Bill 2020, and I call on Mr Perkins to move.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Honourable Members, I've been motivated to bring this bill before this Honourable House as I am aware of a number of people on the island who've had kidney, heart, cornea and other organ transplants, and it has completely changed their lives. I'm also very much aware of the relatives who have lost loved ones and have had to make the difficult decision to donate their organs at a time of family trauma. Daniel Boyd was a young Manx lad who tragically lost his life following a car crash in 2007. His mum, Diane Taylor, bravely gave permission for his organs to be donated, which helped for other people. Since that time, Diane has worked tirelessly to keep the subject of organ donation in the public mind, raising enough money to fund a memorial garden in Nobles Hospital, which commemorates all donors from the island, including one of our own, a former colleague, Martyn Quayle. Consequently, with your agreement, I propose the unofficial title of this bill should be known as Daniel's Law. The consultation received a total of just under 300 responses. The vast majority of these were very supportive. England changed its to an opt-out system last May. Scotland and Wales have also adopted opt-out systems. A couple of years ago, Junior Tynwald voted unanimously for an opt-out system. So the main aims of the bill are to modernise the law with regard to consent of organ donation, enable more organs to become available and save and improve lives, clarify the process and reduce the stress for donor families, and also to facilitate the seamless transfer and use of organs retrieved on the Isle of Man to be used in transportation in another place. The legislation is known as a soft-out option. Everyone over the age of 18 will be considered opted in unless they opt out of donation. The UK NHS Organ Donor Database have kindly agreed that they will record Isle of Man residents' wishes, and importantly, it will not cost the Isle of Man anything. Vitally, it is a quick and convenient one-stop shop for the medical team to ascertain your wishes. Honourable members, time is of the essence when organ donation is taking place. The easiest way of making your wishes known is to go on the UK NHS Organ Donor Database and register your decision. You can opt out with no stigma attached. You can opt in. Choose which one of your organs you wish to donate by ticking the relevant boxes. Some people wish all their organs to be donated. Other people do not want their eyes donated, so they just don't tick that box. You can also phone in on the dedicated helpline if you do not have access to a computer. In any event, with this legislation, your family will always be involved before donation takes place. Currently, the question that is asked is, will you give permission for your loved one's organs to be donated? If the legislation goes through, honourable members, the question will be different. It will be along the lines of, did you ever hear your loved ones say they did not wish their organs to be donated? As indeed the donor may have changed their mind the week before and told the relatives, in which case donation would not take place. This takes the stress out of having to give permission at the time of trauma. Rather, it is a confirmation of a loved one's wishes. It's important to register and discuss what you want to happen with your family so your decision is clear and that they and you know that your decision will be honoured. If you have not expressed your decision to opt out of donation and not in an excluded group, it will be considered that you consent to donate your organs. So even if you don't record that you want to be an organ donor, it is important to let your family know what you want. This bill does not facilitate the organ donation of what is sometimes termed exotic transplant, such as faces or whole limbs. That is for another time and another place. As of yesterday, a total of 13,638 island residents had already logged their decision on the NHS Organ Donor Database, and that is around 15% of the island's population. A total of 133 people had completely opted out. Some people have said to me, I'm not going to let the government snatch my organs. Honourable members, that is just not the case. This bill will facilitate organs you no longer need going to a worthy recipient and certainly be life-changing or life-giving. The legislation places a requirement on the DHSC to provide Tynwald with an annual report and also to publicise the benefits of organ donation on or around the 15th of March each year. Coming on to the human tissue part of the bill, following discussions with the Isle of Man Health Service, professionals in organ donation and retrieval, it became clear that the Isle of Man human tissue legislation is currently sadly lacking. The health managers, and including the mortuary and path lab managers, were keen to update the legislation, highlighting the need for a legal framework in which they can work. So the bill on the human tissue side modernises all Isle of Man legislation regarding post-mortems and tissue retained for other purposes. The legislation is a Manxified Scottish version of legislation. Having liaised with the UK Human Tissue Organisation, it was clear that England is moving to this Scottish model as it is considered better. The Act recognises a child can give a consent while alive. If not, a person with parental responsibility can give consent. That is for medical research, retention of organs and slides. If parents are not available or unwilling to deal with consent, a person who stood in a qualifying relationship with the child may give consent, and that's fully lifted in Section 5 in complete priority order. It makes provision for people unable to give consent. If the activity includes research or transplantation purposes, the person is deemed to have consented unless there is evidence to the contrary. It also organises a qualified person to retain a body while inquiries are made. At the present, there is no legislation for this. Surplus tissue may be disposed of as clinical waste. Urine and faeces contain human cells, and amputated limbs are also considered clinical waste. Honourable members, we do not wish to go back to ask permission from the relatives to dispose of these things. Disposal of aborted fetuses is dealt with under abortion legislation. The bill also permits the analysis of a person's DNA if it is necessary for one of the accepted purposes. For example, rape, domestic violence, where the perpetrator has been killed and the victim wishes to find out more about the medical situation. This bill gives the Isle of Man regulatory independence, and it enables facility and personnel licensing without the UK cost or interference. It authorises the department as the Cabinet Office and Director of Public Health, which is all through the bill is referred to as the department and not to be confused with the Department of Health and Social Care, similar to separation of powers between Parliament and the judiciary. Codes of practice will be modelled on the UK through secondary legislation, and importantly, the bill deals with religious relics and museum exhibits, and also gives powers of search and seizure. Honourable members, the bill is a weighty piece of legislation, and I would take this opportunity to thank the drafter and all the people who have given up many hours of their time, and members of the public who have contributed to it. I consider the bill to be one of the most important pieces of social legislation that this administration will be bringing forward. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.